The Galactic Dominion had issued its ultimatum. A message, cold and absolute, echoed across the stars: submit or be eradicated. For centuries, the Dominion had ruled with an iron grip, crushing resistance before it could begin. To them, humanity was just another species to break. A fledgling race barely stepping into the void, no match for their war fleets, no challenge to their empire. The transmission reached the United Earth Federation's high command. The council chamber was silent as the alien voice faded. No threats, no negotiations, just a demand for unconditional surrender. A demand backed by an armada large enough to blot out a system's sun. Earth's ambassador stood before the Dominion's emissary, a towering figure of reptilian arrogance. The alien's slitted eyes gleamed with contempt. He had delivered the message countless times before, always met with bowed heads and trembling voices. But not this time. The ambassador's expression was unreadable. He let the silence stretch, long enough for unease to creep into the room. Then, in a voice calm as death, he spoke. "You want war? We'll give you a war." The Dominion representative's expression flickered, just for a moment. A reaction. Uncertainty. Then the feed was cut. Across human space, an ancient instinct stirred. War was not a distant memory for them, it was woven into their history, carved into their bones. Humanity did not conquer. They did not seek to rule. But they had been tested before. And those who tested them rarely lived to tell the tale. The Dominion expected fear. They expected surrender. They would find neither. Fleet Command mobilized instantly. Every shipyard roared to life. Every world prepared. The UEF's best minds activated black budget projects once deemed too dangerous to use. Stealth technology, cyber warfare, orbital kinetic strikes, tools of war sharpened in the crucible of human history. The message spread through the stars. Alien civilizations, watching from the shadows, expected the inevitable. Humanity crushed, another footnote in the Dominion's endless conquest. But something else happened. Broadcasts leaked. Dominion-controlled worlds saw the defiance in the ambassador's eyes, heard the steel in his voice. And for the first time in generations, a question spread through the oppressed. What if they win? Across the Dominion's vast territories, whispers turned to sparks. Rebellions long thought impossible began to stir. But the Dominion, blinded by arrogance, did not see the storm forming. They would soon learn. Humanity did not start this war. But they would finish it. The Dominion's fleets advanced with overwhelming force, confident in their victory before the first shot was fired. They had crushed countless civilizations. Humanity would be no different. But war was not new to humans. They had fought each other for millennia, refining the art of destruction in ways the Dominion could not comprehend. Their enemies fought with brute strength. Humanity fought with ingenuity. The first sign of trouble came when Dominion supply ships vanished. Entire convoys lost without a trace. Their fleets, so reliant on centralized logistics, began starving before battle even began. Then the Dominion's warships turned against each other. At first, they thought it was treason. Then they realized their own systems had been hijacked. Human cyber warfare, something the Dominion had never encountered, was tearing through their fleet. Firewalls crumbled. Targeting systems glitched. Ships fired on allies. Command channels went silent. Panic spread. A fleet that had never known resistance now faced an enemy they could not predict, could not control. And then the real war began. Humanity did not fight fair. They struck in the dead of night, ships cloaked in darkness. They jammed sensors, intercepted orders, turned the Dominion's own technology against them. Ambushes turned battlegrounds into graveyards. Entire fleets disappeared into the void, their wreckage found drifting days later. But the most terrifying weapon was not their ships, nor their firepower. It was the idea of defiance. Dominion-controlled worlds saw the impossible happening. A race the Dominion had dismissed as weak was winning. One by one, colonies rose up. Resistance movements, crushed for centuries, now had something they never had before: hope. Sabotage crippled supply lines. Revolts broke out across 100 systems. Former slaves took up arms against their masters. The Dominion had spent centuries ruling through fear. But fear had turned on them. A Dominion general, watching from the bridge of his warship, saw the impossible unfolding. The humans were outnumbered, outgunned. But they would not stop. They adapted. They endured. They fought with a fury the Dominion could not match. And then came the moment that changed everything. A single broadcast, hijacked and sent across every Dominion-controlled world. You thought we would break. You thought we would kneel. You were wrong. The words echoed across the stars. And in the silence that followed, the galaxy realized humanity was not just fighting for survival. They were fighting to win. The Dominion's forces, once seen as unstoppable, were now in full retreat. Their warships burned in every system, their once mighty fleets reduced to scattered remnants. They had underestimated humanity, and now they were paying the price. Desperation took hold. High Command, once so assured of victory, now scrambled to protect the core worlds. The Dominion's leaders ordered every remaining ship to fortify their homeworld, believing they could hold out. They were wrong. Humanity had no interest in prolonged war. They fought to end their enemies, not outlast them. The final offensive began without warning. Stealth ships bypassed defenses, sowing chaos before the first fleet arrived. Dominion communications failed as human AI systems tore through their networks, shutting down planetary defenses in an instant. Then, the bombardment began. It was unlike anything the Dominion had ever faced. Orbital railguns pummeled the surface, taking out key infrastructure within minutes. Shock troops deployed, overwhelming ground forces before they could regroup. Resistance collapsed. What was left of the Dominion's command structure fractured, some calling for surrender, others for a last stand. The UEF fleet descended, weapons primed, engines burning through the dark. On every Dominion world, the message was clear. This was the end. The ruling council, once so arrogant, now begged for negotiation. They had crushed 1,000 civilizations before. They had never needed mercy, until now. The response was cold, final. You never showed mercy. You will receive none. The last of the Dominion's warships fell in a matter of hours. The palace, once a symbol of absolute power, was reduced to rubble. The empire that had ruled for centuries was gone in a single night. The galaxy watched in stunned silence. The impossible had happened. The Dominion, the greatest power in known history, had fallen. And it had fallen to humans. Fear spread. If humanity could do this to an empire that had stood for generations, what else were they capable of? What would they do next? But humanity did not claim the Dominion's throne. They had no desire to rule through fear. Their war had never been about conquest. It had been about justice. And justice had been served. The war was over. The Dominion, once a force of absolute control, was nothing more than a cautionary tale. Where their fleets had once darkened the skies, only wreckage remained. Their banners, once symbols of fear, were now trampled underfoot. Humanity did not celebrate. Victory was not a moment of triumph, it was a reminder. A reminder of what had been lost, of what had been necessary. They had not fought for power. They had fought to make sure no one would ever face the same threat again. The galaxy held its breath. Countless species, once Dominion slaves, now looked to humanity with uncertainty. Would they become the new rulers, the new conquerors? Would they impose their will as the Dominion had before them? The answer came in the form of a single message, broadcast across every world that had once lived under the Dominion's rule. You are free. No new empire rose to take the old one's place. Instead, humanity offered something different: alliances, protection, unity. They had seen what unchecked power could do, and they would not repeat the cycle. Some feared them. How could they not? They had done the impossible. They had shattered an empire that had existed for generations. But fear was slowly replaced by respect. The species that had once been dismissed as weak had proven themselves stronger than anyone had imagined. New coalitions formed. Planets that had never dared to dream of independence now stood on their own. And through it all, humanity remained, not as rulers, but as guardians. They did not seek to control. They ensured that no species would suffer what they had endured. A final transmission echoed across the stars, a message not of dominance, but of warning. We did not start this war, but we ended it. And now, we decide the future. No one challenged them. No one dared. And as the UEF fleets moved through the void, their banners unfurled, a new era began. One not ruled by fear, but by the unbreakable will of a species that had defied the impossible. Humanity had been tested. And they had won.